Hi there and welcome back to the channel. Today I'm reviewing Chris James's new product, Squint. It's a new packet effect from Alakazam Magic and it's a brilliant take on twisting the aces. So let's get right into a performance of Squint. Have you ever heard of marked cards before? They're a common technique magicians and gamblers use at casinos to win games. Can you see the markings on these cards? It's very difficult to see for most people, but they're actually marked. It doesn't have to do with the trick itself. I just thought I'd let you know so you're in the know about markings so you don't ever get scammed. But the trick at hand, I have 4 aces here. We're going to try something very interesting. You know, these 4 aces are very special. They're magical aces. And the thing is, if I turn over one of the aces and I snap my fingers just like that, you'll see this happen. All 3 aces except one turn over. The ace of hearts is the only face up one. Let's try that again with a different ace, with just another snap of the fingers. The second ace to turn over is the ace of clubs. That's absolutely crazy. But we're going to try it one more time with just a snap of the fingers. One more card turns face up, the ace of diamonds. Now, back to the markings. I'm going to teach you in just a moment, but watch this. The markings on this card show me that this is the ace of spades. And once you know the markings on the cards and you snap your fingers, everything goes back to normal. That's 1, 2, 3, 4 aces. Anyways, now to see the markings, all you have to do is squint. And then you can see the markings very clearly. The ace of spades, ace of diamonds, ace of clubs, and ace of hearts. That's how to see the markings on the card. Now, of course, the thing is, there's an issue with this. If you're not squinting, and I give the cards a blow, like this, you lose track of the markings on the cards. They don't even look marked anymore. And that's really weird. That's Squint by Chris James. I hope you enjoyed that performance of Squint. I'd like to thank Chris James for sending this product to me to review for you guys. Even though he sent me this product, I will be still giving you an unbiased, honest Magic review. Now, first off, I'd like to let all Magic distributors or creators know if you'd like me to review your product, bffanmail@gmail.com. Also, I do free Magic monthly giveaways, and all you have to do to be eligible for those is subscribe to the channel. For the month of September, I am giving away Royalty by Gordon Bean, and all you have to do to be eligible is go to my review of POW, subscribe to the channel, like the POW review, and on the POW review, comment below Lucky Bean. Without further ado, let's get right into the review. So what do you get with Squint by Chris James? You will receive this very nice envelope style packaging with cool artwork on the front. Inside you will receive the Vimeo tutorial link to the effect, which is both downloadable and streamable. The tutorial is a whopping almost 2 hours long, and we'll talk about that more in a little bit. In addition to the tutorial card, you'll receive the gimmicked cards required to perform Squint. They're the aces. What are the quality of the gimmicked cards? The cards are great. With the exception of one card, every card is gimmicked or specially printed and you cannot find them anywhere else. The one card that does have a component that you may need to replace is the only normal card, which is great. The thing is, all but one of the cards are custom printed, not on the cards. I'll explain what I mean. Normally, bicycle cards have the ink printed on the cards or embedded in the cards, whereas with Squint, the printing is actually on top of the cards. The layer of printing is on top of the cards. So that way, if you accidentally scratch it or something like that, it may accidentally peel off. You won't want that to happen. And I have not had that personal experience with the gimmick, but I think with time, if these cards are rubbing against certain surfaces, it may accidentally scratch off. Now, As far as I know, there are no refills available for these cards. So if you do that, you will need to buy a new set of Squint. but it is unlikely that if you use these properly, that will ever happen. There is one component of this gimmick that will need to be eventually replaced, but thankfully it is something you can find at any office supply store or Amazon or something like that. And you can get it for very cheap. One thing you want to look out for in order to improve the longevity of your gimmicks is to make sure that one of your cards is not bowing. You want to follow everything Chris says in the tutorial and make sure you're taking care of these cards really well. I would store these in a packet wallet. Now, how is the tutorial? The tutorial is almost 2 hours long. It begins with Chris James Magic in his room giving credits for this effect. Shortly after, Craig Petty joins him on a Zoom call, and it begins in an interview format where Chris discusses his inspiration for Squint, why he loves packet tricks, and more. With Squint, this is actually presented almost as a joke. And what's great about that is when markings are presented as a joke, Chris explains that you can immediately go into a marked deck trick because your spectators are kind of thinking these are what markings look like and not really what the backs like these look like. And that's really powerful because you're essentially teaching your audience that markings have to be very obvious in order to be used by a magician. And if your audience is unaware of the markings in a normal deck of cards, it's almost like they don't exist. After the interview, Chris does a studio performance of the main routine of Squint. And then, with Craig's additional tips, Chris teaches the effect in depth with some notes from Craig, as mentioned. They talk about the routining, the presentation, and more. And after that, they teach the Elmsley count, a very easy card sleight. I even have a tutorial of that on my channel. He also teaches you how to instantly reset using an extra little trick, which I did at the end of the Squint performance. And that's great because then you can just do the effect, perform it, remove the markings, and everyone's in shock, and then perform it at the next table. The thing is, he also teaches you how to do this effect without any of the replaceable component and with a different component. So he goes through those two different things, and he even teaches you how to make it so one of the aces, the one that has the gimmick, is ungimmicked, completely ungimmicked. That way you will never need to replace anything. You'll never have to worry about ink peeling off due to that component or anything else. Craig gives some ideas how to use this as a routine for hiding the markings or using the boombox by Andrew Niner. And then it transitions to Craig and Ryland, Craig's son, doing the main handling. Craig performs it on Ryland and then teaches his routine. After that, Craig passes it along to David Jonathon, who then teaches his handling of the effect. And the thing is, in my opinion, David's handling is a little similar to the original handling of Squint, but it is a little different, and it is very smart, but it will require you to modify the cards a little bit. You understand if once you get the tutorial. After that, then Kevin Aust jumps in and teaches his two handlings of Squint. They're both really, really good, and it allows you to show the backs of all four of the cards at the beginning and at the end. It is slightly more difficult, but I do think it is a really good handling, and I've been practicing Kevin's handling for quite a bit recently. Chris James then jumps back in and teaches Greg Wilson's Twisting the Aces presentation. That's 1 hour and 43 minutes of tutorial. Wow, that is an incredibly long tutorial. Now, what are the angles like for Squint? You will have to be careful with your angles. You don't want anyone directly behind you or really underneath you. I think you could have 360 degrees as long as you're very careful and cognizant of who's around you, who's sitting down, looking up from behind you, then you should be fine. Are there live performances in the tutorial? There are live performances in the tutorial. There's one, I believe, at the start of the Squint tutorial. However, after that, there are multiple studio performances such as Craig on Ryland and Chris to the camera. Is this examinable? 3 of the 4 cards are examinable. The last one is not. Now let's talk about the difficulty and practicality of Squint. How difficult is Squint? It's quite easy. Some of the moves are a little bit knacky due to the component that helps make this effect work, but all you need to be able to do is turn a card over, do an Elmsley count, and you should have no problem with that. You should probably sit at a table or desk and practice this and the presentation for about 30 minutes, or until you're confident in performing this without flashing at all. You're going to want to store Squint in a packet wallet to make it last longer, but it's very practical. Penguin Magic sells these packet wallets for 80 cents a piece, and that's a great deal. This will work in any environment: stage, close-up, parlor, walk around. It's very easy to do, and it should have no problem withstanding scrutiny from close-up. And multiple of the routines taught in the tutorial can be done standing. Is there any DIY with Squint? The gimmicks come right out of the box, so there is no DIY. However, as the gimmick wears, or you want to try out different routines, such as David Jonathon's, you will have to replace or switch out the gimmick component or some of the cards. Or you may even need to do something else to a couple of the cards. If you'll know what I mean if you get Squint. Now, what is the pocket space for Squint? This doesn't take up much pocket space, and it's only the thickness of about 4 or 5 cards. Now, what is the reset like for Squint? The reset is instant if you use Chris James' routine. If you just end with the markings all on the back of the card, you will have to quickly do something. You can do it in front of the audience if you want, but I prefer to reset in front of your audience under the guise of making the markings disappear. And I feel that is a lot better because you're showing no markings. You're doing a very cool twisting the aces routine. Then you're bringing the markings back and then taking them away. It's pretty cool. Now, what is the price of Squint? Squint currently retails on alakazammagic.co.uk for $20 US. Is this worth it? I'd say the 103-minute tutorial alone is worth it. This is definitely worth the price, and I'm not just saying that because I got this from Chris. I think Chris could have charged easily $30, which is the price of, I believe, Ace, or somewhere in that range, and it would still be worth it because the handlings are so great. There's multiple turnovers, there's multiple moments of magic, and then the kicker at the end where the backs change color, it's perfect. What are the pros and cons with Squint? The pros are that this is visual, it has an instant reset, it is a great price for what you get. It's not too difficult, it's fun to perform. 3 of the 4 cards are examinable, which I guess could be seen as a pro or a con. It's a great packet trick, and it packs small and plays big. What are the cons with Squint? The cons are that this will eventually wear out, and that not all of the cards are examinable. Again, 3 of the cards are examinable, but unfortunately, even if you did a top change for the last card, you don't have a 4th ace that could be examined, if that makes sense. Because this, even though the markings are on the back, you could not hand out. And even if you top changed it, you wouldn't have a normal ace of spades with the big markings on the back to hand out, to examine. So if you know what I mean, I wish Chris would have included 4 of the normal marked back cards that could be examined, including the ace of spades, and then also included the gimmicked card, this final gimmick. That would have been a lot better because then all 4 cards could be examined at the end. But that's really it for the pros and cons. What percent am I giving this? I'm giving Squint a whopping 98%. It's a hard-hitting powerhouse of a packet trick. I absolutely recommend it to hobbyists, professional magicians, walk-around magicians, or anyone who loves gambling style routines or back-switching routines or just packet tricks in general. Chris James is a wonderful creator, and this is just a demonstration of that. Also, it's so affordable that even if you don't use it too often, I'll be using it. Even if you don't use it too often, the explanations and theory you get in the tutorial from Chris James, Craig Petty, Kevin Aust, David Jonathon, and even Greg Wilson's handlings, it's well worth it. Even if you only use an ungimmicked version of twisting the aces, which is kind of included in the tutorial, that'll be well worth it. I hope you enjoyed this review. That's it from me. I hope it helped you decide whether or not you pick up Squint by Chris James. But I hope you enjoyed this magic review. If you did, make sure to hit that thumbs up button and subscribe to the channel. If not, maybe share it with a friend who would like it. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.